I've got some $5 pots from Dollar Tree. I've got this really big elephant ear tuber and some gladiolas, and I'm going to pot those up. Trust that there while I get prepared. This soil my husband got for me. I don't think, I mean, if I had time and space, I'd let it continue to break down more, but it's where we often park our cars, so I'm trying to get it used up as fast as possible. I'm not planting food in this right now. I'm just planting stuff that's for ornamental purposes only. So if you have some soil that you think is not food safe yet, I would say plant the stuff that is ornamental in that, and then save your soil that you think is better for food. I might do a little bit more soil there. Save your good stuff for like your leafy greens. Okay, let's do this. And you can see it's already sprouting. I intended on planting this earlier, and I'm going to get some of these gladiolas because I want all my pots to be doing something all the time practically. So if that's not doing something, then maybe those will be doing something. And whenever this area looks like it's not active with beautiful growth and everything, I'll pop in some like annual flower seeds. So there we go. This is going to be awesome. And I'm going to put a tag on here so I don't forget, because I don't think the elephant ear, it might survive year round. I'm going to have to double check on the zone. But just in case it needs to be kept warmer, I can move it. And I might just move it into my greenhouse for the wintertime. I'll have to double check the zone. I know that the relative Tara, which is the cousin of the elephant ear, I know that's the edible cousin. The taro does not survive here year round because I tried as an experiment. So this might or might not. I'll double check. And if it says zone 8 is okay, I'll probably still put it in the greenhouse. But if it says like zone 9 or 10, then I'm gonna end up having to bring this inside for the winter. So let's go ahead and move on to something else. Leaves obviously make a good mulch, but so do flower petals. So whenever I see my peonies and roses dropping petals, I'm going to put them down on the soil. And this is lamb's ear. I'm just going to take off a couple of these dead leaves. Watch out for spiders. Not trying to disturb them. And then there you go. Handy dandy little chair to sit in. Love this thing from Bass Pro and Cabela's. Super comfy, so I can get my tags going. On both sides, and I have a smaller one, so I'm just kind of differentiating. This is the really big one. This is an elephant ear. I bought one that was cheaper, that was a little bit smaller, and this I'm also marking that there's also gladiolas in there. I call them glads. When the plants are like fully active, you're going to definitely be able to identify them. But if I have a lot of containers that are the same, which I do, I want to keep track of what I have where. I always think I'm going to remember, but then things get moved around. So I'm going to put that in here. We'll figure out a spot for where this will be, probably along the fence line, where it will be like really crazy, big, giant leaves. Awesome. I'll just put some down there. Who cares? Planted an artichoke like last weekend, I think. Done a lot of work over here, and my tomatoes are looking great. I need to transplant those. So my husband made me this raised bed for Mother's Day, and he used some reclaimed wood, and he bought some more, and he bought the corrugated type of metal. He lined on the bottom. I said, please line it, otherwise we'll have weeds going all the way up, because that's happened before. He lined it on the bottom and filled it up, and It wasn't the quality of soil I wanted, but it's going to have a lot of nutrients in there, so it's fine. I decided because it wasn't, I wouldn't say, I don't want to call it like food grade soil, you guys, but if I'm growing leafy greens, I want the soil, if it splashes up onto the stems and the leaves, and not to have bacteria. And because I don't think this was fully broken down, and ideally what I would have done is I would have taken out like a couple inches, maybe 5 inches of the soil on top, and I would have filled it up with something a little bit less suspicious. But here I have, we went to the farmer's market for Mother's Day, and my oldest son, bought me this plant here. It's called Maltese Cross, and he bought me one called Castle something. Oh, this one is, and I actually had 2 plants in one container. This is a lupine. It's the dark pink lupine. It's also called Castle. I thought, oh, that's so cute. So I've got a cross and a castle. So I've got the lupine, which is a red lupine, and another common name for it was castle. And I thought that's adorable. So I have castle and cross. So you have church and state. And it's actually funny because when we were going to the farmer's market to look around, I was like, he said, you can choose whatever you want from the market, Mom, whatever you want. And he was thinking I'd get something like really expensive. I looked around the whole market and I was like, you know what I really want is the Maltese Cross and the Castle Lupine. And because we recently were doing some genealogy and found out that part of our family used to live in a castle, like in the 1600s, and they lived in that castle for like 250 to 300 years. Obviously not the person themselves, but like their descendants. Otherwise we'd be vampires. But so anyway, I did I wanted the nickname. I like the names. I like names of plants, you guys. So I got the Castle Lupine and the Maltese Cross. And so I thought, this is my church and state over here. Got it all going on. And then I planted these from seeds. These are Sugar Rush peach peppers from Baker Creek. And I think this will be my year. This is going to be my year for Sugar Rush peach because these are looking nice. And yes, they're smaller than what you get at a nursery because I planted them from seeds. They're planted from seeds. And so I actually planted them a couple months ago from seed. This one looks really good. And then this is a ruby red indigo tomato. And this was planted from seeds that were from 2017. I had like a small packet, probably 10 seeds, and only one of them did well. But this is why I'm saying don't throw away your old seeds, because look how beautiful this plant is. It's got like, even the foliage itself has a little bit of an indigo tint to it. I love it. So this is ruby red indigo. And then I planted that from seed. And so I only put 1 tomato in this container, but I've got lots of tomatoes everywhere else. I also am trying to decide where to put these. This is a tray from Dollar Tree. Right here I have, this is a spoon tomato. That's also from seed, but that one was from new seed. And then this is tomatoes also. There's a tiny little baby tomato in there. This one is yellow pear. This is from 2017. So those seeds were 8 years old, at least. They were seeds I got in 2017. This is Gumfrina Strawberry Fields, 2017. Garden Peach Tomato, that's from 2017, and that plant is looking really gorgeous. That was also like the only of its kind situation. And then this one is another Copper River 2017, another tomato from 8-year-old seeds. So in each of those situations, there were a couple, like there's at least half a dozen seeds and only one grew. But that's a plant I got for free. If you went to the farmer's market, you'd be paying $5 or $6 for just this. And I didn't throw it away, right? So these are the Sugar Rush peach peppers I have left to plant. So I've got 3 here, maybe more, but at least 3 to plant. And these are yellow stuffers And these are new. I think these were newer seeds. Yeah, they were newer seeds. And then these are datel peppers. And these are going to be spicy. I got these for free from Baker Creek as a gift. I'm putting some Coco Coir on top of the soil. I just like to use it sometimes as a mulch. It also helps keep nutrients in the soil. And I don't like to have, like I said, that splashback onto my plants. Now, here's the deal. Like I said, my husband made this raised bed planter for me because it's more ergonomic for my back. I do a lot of bending and squatting and all that kind of stuff all day long, and it's just nice to have a few areas where I don't have to work so hard. But he filled it with soil that I don't feel would be good for leafy greens because, you know, I don't feel like it's broken down enough. So I'm covering the top of it, you know, with a mulch. And this is just, I keep buying more of it. I love Coco Coir. And I feel like it's more sustainable than like peat moss. But I do use peat moss. I'm not, like, I just don't feel like wasting it. So I'm using the Coco Coir here. And so, like, I like to have something on top of my soil. It helps to keep the nutrients in. It helps the microbes and everything underneath it and so forth. So anyway, I love this raised bed. Thank you, Jose, for building it for me. I think it looks really nice. And like I said, this is so funny. I mean, I just think it was a cute name because I was like, when at the farmer's market with my son, and he's like, choose whatever you want, Mom. And I said, well, I want the Maltese cross. And these two were in the same container, like I said, and it's called My Castle, and it's a red lupin, and I love lupin. Let me show you my purple lupin. This is my purple lupin. This is what it's normal, but you can see it's already going to seed, and I love the seeds. Look right there. I seed save my own seeds from my lupin. Pollinators have been absolutely so excited over this. I think something must be eating some of my seeds, but that's okay. You know, there's enough. So what's really cool about the seed pods is when they're ready, one side twists one way and one side twists the other, like a curly Q, and it shoots the seeds everywhere. So then I get more plants. But I like to try to collect them beforehand so I can choose where to put them, because I don't want to waste my seeds. But they're so beautiful, and this plant here, it's perennial. So is the other variety, the My Castle, the red one. And like I said, my older son bought me that for Mother's Day when we went to the farmer's market together. So I love it. Absolutely love it. And so the other one is going to be red. What I really think is, okay, I'm all about words, you guys. I do have a degree in science, but I also have a degree in English, and so I'm kind of punny. So I said I wanted a castle. I told him, he's like, Mom, choose whatever you want. And I had looked around the whole farmer's market, and I was like, you know, honey, what if I want a castle? And he's like, nothing's too good for you, Mom. You can have whatever you want. If you want a castle, like, he thought I was being like, I want something expensive. And I was like, I want a castle. And then he's like, okay, he's kind of bracing himself. He's like, you know what, Mom, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. So we go back, and it's the My Castle lupin. And I looked through all of them, and I found one that had 2 in the container. So I love a deal, even if it's somebody else paying. And I got the Maltese cross. And so I said, you know what? That's so funny because I've got my church, which is my Maltese cross. And I've got my castle. Literal. It's called My Castle. And I thought it would be really funny to plant them in the same bed because there's no separation of church and state here. Maltese cross and my castle. And I kept making like all these little dumb jokes on the way home. And he's like, how many times are you going to tell us that our family lived in a castle once? I'm like, you know what? I'm just really excited because my whole life I've been taught everybody in our family has always been dirt poor and literally been farmers. And preachers and stuff like that. And so I was like, yeah. So there were some people in our family who were, I don't want to say regrettably rich, but rich people have more history on them, and then you get to hear their stories, whereas the shameful acts of the people who are not documented as well. Like it was really, I was like looking on the genealogy sites, and my poorer side of my family, I can only research back to like the 1700s, and then the side, like my dad's mom's family, so my paternal grandma, her family was wealthy, and of course we never saw that money. What's really funny though, what's really, really funny is the castle that her family once lived in, and this story has not been passed down. I had to research it. I would have been telling everybody I'm a princess growing up if I had known that I had relatives that ever lived in a castle. If someone told me someone lived in a castle when I was a kid, growing up, I would have assumed that we were the servants, because that's actually why my maternal side of the family got to the United States. My mom's family came over because her great-great-great-grandmother was a very young maid working for a wealthy family, and she got pregnant, and the family got rid of her. The wealthy family got rid of her by giving her a one-way ticket to the United States. So she came here not speaking a word of English, only spoke Norwegian, and she got on a train, and they dumped her in like really close between South Dakota and North Dakota. Technically it's South Dakota. We were always raised thinking it was North Dakota, but it's like really close apparently. So that side of the family was very poor. I can't research very far back on that side of the family. Record keeping and illegitimate, whatever stuff that happened. Like it was like shameful. Like I actually found that grandmother, and I'm the descendant of her husband, not the rich family. So like we knew like there was rich blood in this one little tangent of the family. I can't even find the child's birth certificate who was born here. It was like that child never existed. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming she kept the baby, but I can't find anything on them. So like when I was researching my dad's side of the family, and I found out that there was some like, I wouldn't say aristocracy because we were kind of like low on the totem pole, but there was a branch of the family that lived in a castle in Ireland. Shamefully, we were the invaders. But I found a newspaper article that said that it was like his cousin said he was ashamed about the nepotism, that his own cousin got that station and the castle because he didn't even kill anybody. And I was like, thank the Lord. I'm so glad that even if my ancestors were invaders, we were basically paper shufflers. I was relieved to know that he didn't kill anybody. But yeah, apparently he liked to gamble and drink. So that's the kind of information you learned about your ancestors if there's like any kind of any tie to nobility, which is funny because there is a river next to that castle called Sucks River. And I'm not kidding. It's actually called Sucks River. And when I let my brother and my cousin know about the castle story, like this is like brand new to all of us. We're like, what? We had a castle? That's crazy. What happened to all that generational wealth? We've never seen any money. And we're like, yeah, the river sucked it all away. Ba-dum-bum. Anyway, so here's the only castle I will ever own. This is my castle. And this is my cross, Maltese cross. And they are not separated in this planter, even though they are separated in our country. They are not separated in my planter in my garden. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, I guess it's kind of funny too because I planted elephant ear. Yep. So I think it's funny when you plant things and they have other meanings. But so I'm really happy to have this done. And, I've got I'm really looking forward to the flowers because all of my lupins so far have been purple. I did get a pack when I refinanced. The lady was super nice. I think the seeds now are like 3 or 4 years old. I'm going to have to plant them now. But she gave me a packet of mixed lupin colors, like all different colors of lupin. So I'm going to have to plant some of those and see what awesome colors. Now I'm going to go mail this seed order because I like to follow a channel called Homestead Tessie. And Tessie is sending out packages of her flower seeds from her own garden for $5 in a self-addressed stamped envelope. So I've got my self-addressed stamped envelope inside of here, and she's doing it for 2 seed packet. So 2 stamps. So you self-address and stamp it twice, and then enclose $5 cash. And she is sending out seeds from her own garden. I just think that'll be great. I'm going to have a pot where I have just seeds from her garden, and if you want to see that, follow, like, subscribe, comment, and all that kind of stuff, and I will see if I can add a video of that when I have her seeds and they are actually growing. All right, so that was my punny little garden here with my castle and my cross. All right, everybody, hope you enjoyed this. Be good, be sweet, go garden if you want to eat, and God bless you.